What is going on, y'all? I hope you're having a really great Wednesday, this fine September 10th. Everybody, this is going to be such a fun show today. We got a couple legends who are going to be joining us throughout the experience here. So, we're going to have Rabah from Vermont joining us a little bit later in the show. But to kick us off, we have my dog, Trace. It's going to be such a good conversation. But, everyone, if this is your first time tapping in, what's up? Welcome to the party, y'all. This is ThumbstopLive. Now, you might be asking yourself, what the heck is ThumbstopLive? What am I tuning into? So to get you a little bit of a sneak peek, essentially, ThumbstopLive, we're talking creative strategy, we're talking D2C community, all that stuff, every single Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to learn more, tap in with us on X or Twitter, whatever you're calling it, at ThumbstopLive, at ThumbstopLive, at ThumbstopLive. Now, here's the thing. We're streaming across a whole bunch of platforms. So I see some folks with us on the LinkedIn side. What's happening, y'all? On the YouTube live side, I know the chat's always popping over there. Twitter and X, of course. And then finally, but not least, we have our Instagram live, folks. What is up, y'all? So like I said, this is going to be such a fun episode. And we're kicking off with my guy, Trace. I think like as I've started reflecting on it in this moment, I might have known Trace for potentially 3.5 or 4 years at this point. Now my mind's like, what in the hell? Time flies. So I'm so excited to talk to him about, of course, his expertise, but also his story in this world of life and D2C, creative strategy, media buying. So without further ado, love to welcome this guy to the stage. Let's give him a round of applause, y'all. Welcome Trace Crawford to the stage.
What's up, Evan? How you doing, dude? Appreciate you.
I'm great, man. Of course. I'm so excited. I saw you pop up on Twitter. I'm like, yo, I haven't talked to Trace in a minute. I got to see what's going on. So I'm
Dude,
so happy you're with me, man.
It's been a while. Yeah, you said it's been like 3 or 4 years. I was thinking about that last night because I came across like a PDF y'all had published, and I think it was like this is like at least 3 years old of like how to be a creative strategist. I was like, man, yeah, we've known each other for a minute now, dude. So it's great to reconnect.
That's what I'm saying, man. And I'm so happy we get to do it on like a format like this where it isn't just like the work side, it's also the personal end. So it's gonna be really great. And there's so much that I want to get into with you. But I think just for our audience who isn't as familiar with you, I'm wondering, can we just start with the quick tell us about yourself, a little bit of professional, a little bit of personal, whatever you're willing to share, honestly, and then we'll take from there if that works.
For sure. Yeah, I'll give you my spiel. So I've been at Supply. It's a men's grooming brand for the last 4 years as the head of growth / director of e-commerce, which pretty much running most of the marketing came in, right after the iOS changes. The founder was looking to bring everything internal after, having some issues with some agencies. And so we just went for it, brought a bunch of, I was pretty new to the scene at the time. I've been running some of my own brands, like drop shipping to like, turning them into real brands. And I was kind of at a crossroads myself. So came in, brought in some fresh people as well. Like our copywriter was a guy who was a youth pastor for 10 years and just started. And so we just kind of built this ragtag marketing team and just ended up figuring it out and unlocked some serious scale and then ended up getting acquired. And then I ran the brand for about the last year or so after the founder stepped away. And just recently left the brand. And now I'm doing kind of a freelance fractional head of growth thing where I'm essentially doing the same things I was doing for Supply, where kind of coming in and just helping unite whatever the internal team looks like and around a core marketing strategy and helping scale small 7-figure brands to get past that 8-figure mark.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I think so. There's so much of the technical side that I want to get into because, again, really great brand, really great experience. But the first place that I want to start is like I was just looking through your Twitter, trying to pull up some stuff, see what we have going on. And you know me, anyone who's tuning in before, like, no, I didn't go crazy or anything. But one of the first things I always find is anyone who hoops, man. Hey, get up there. Talk about this, man. Like, talk about the hoop story. Talk about what we can see in here. You still got it in the tank. What's up, man?
Yeah, I played some mediocre D3 basketball in college, but I still hoop a bit. I know we talked before this that you've been hooping. So if you're watching this and you're a hooper, we're seeing if we can pull out a DTC hoops event. But yeah, I still play a bit. I was in a men's league. Got second in the league. It would hurt, but I'm fired up for next season.
Yeah, man. I've had the chance to talk to like Brett Fish, who's based out of Portland. Like he
Mhm.
also used to hoop all throughout college. I played into my first year of college, and then I'm just like, man, I'm not tall enough or big enough to be able to compete. So I was trying to find ultimately what made sense next. But I think one of the
Mhm.
things I'm always curious about for you is like when you were playing and then you played D3 basketball, was like
Mhm.
was ball life back in the day? Was that literally how you lived? Or what
Ball was life for me. I was like cringy ball is life. Like
was
I was in it. I played, AAU like all summer, like I worked out like every day. Like my entire life was basketball. I was very much cringy. I Once I got into college and I got a little bit older, like things cooled off, as I became, an adult and, had school and had to take part-time jobs and things like that. It became less life, but growing up, if you scroll down my Instagram, I don't hide any of it either. There's some crazy stuff down there. Please, I'm private anyway. I'll let you follow me.
I'm honestly the same. I haven't been on my own personal Instagram in forever because I'm like, oh, that's gonna stay over there for
My
now.
wife literally goes, she'll go through and say, I love this photo. I'm like, it's like 2011. I'm like, please don't do that.
Don't show me that, please.
Oh,
Oh
no,
my
don't make me
gosh.
delete all my old posts. I'm trying to be trendy.
Man, one of the things I'm always curious about when like talking to people who used to play sports or like something that they were super passionate about is just the concept of passion. So I think like people in our generation, something we're often told is the idea of follow your passion, work in your passion, and things along those lines. And I'm wondering, based on your experience, if that's advice that resonates with you and you're like, yep, everybody should do that, or if you have any opinions that you'd want to share on that.
I have some thoughts. I would say, like, I don't think everyone should follow their passion, like, to an extent. Like, for me, like, I feel like I have to, like, follow my passion, but my passion comes from, like, something that I am excited to work on, and I feel I want to get better at it, and I want to come in and do it every day. Like, I felt that way about basketball. I feel that way about the work I do right now, because it's like every day you're doing something to get better, right? That's why I really like growth marketing, because there's a consistent feedback loop of doing it, right? So I think, when it comes to following your passion, like, just do something that you want to do every single day, even if it's not something that it's like my passion's basketball, right? At least when I was growing up, and I still love basketball, but also I'm not working in basketball, right? You're finding something that gives you that same drive to continue doing it and to continue getting better at it. That's not the wisest advice, but that's my take on it.
I love it, man. I love it. Honestly, like, because I think one of the pieces that always happens is, again, like anyone who's going professional in a sport, big up to you, like top 0.1% human,
Mhm.
like at that point. And something that plebs like me and you have to go through is hanging them up. It's like hanging the sneakers up, like from like truly competitive at that standpoint. And I
Mhm.
know for me, it was an interesting journey, man, because it was kind of like all I had known was hoops. And it was like, okay, someone asks me what I'm passionate about, it's like basketball is that thing, like the immediate answer. But then when that no longer existed, it was kind of like a journey to go on a bit. It was okay, what does this actually mean for me in this process? And like what is passion? And I landed on a spot exactly where you did. It was kind of like, well, what about basketball brought me joy? And there's something along the lines of like camaraderie and teamwork, solving
Mhm.
problems quickly, getting better every single day. And once that realization kicked in, it was like, yo, doesn't really matter what it is. I feel like I can do it. Like it's as long as I get the hits on those
Yeah.
three areas, I feel like I'm solid. So I really resonate with what you said,
Mhm.
man. Really, really
Yeah,
resonate with
that's
it.
killer. You made three great points there about like working together with the team and getting better every single day. Those are two key ones. Like I feel like I was like brainwashed by coming up with basketball. Like that's one of the reasons why I started in e-commerce, because I got like a full-time like corporate job, and I came from like doing those things, playing basketball and doing those things every day, where I was like, again, I'm getting better every day. I'm working with this close group of people to accomplish a singular goal, and then all of a sudden now I'm just like a cog in the wheel, and I'm just like, clocking in 9 to 5, and I didn't feel a need to get better. I didn't feel like I was working on something I was passionate about or working with people I was passionate about. So like, yeah, it's those two things are key.
Man, okay. So there's two threads in there that I want to pull on. The first one is like, let's talk about that 9 to 5, because I think like society puts us on this path especially you go to school. It's like, this is what success looks like. Go get the big job, work 9 to 5, bust your ass every day, and some good things will happen. But it's like hard to break away from that when society's telling you to do that. So like what I'm curious about is like you landed some killer roles since that time. It sounds like you were clocking the 9 to 5. How did you break away from this version of the Matrix to live it how you wanted to?
I never really wanted like a full-time job. Like ball was life for me. I didn't really pick my head up. I did not prepare like for college. I just went to school and I played basketball. Like I was not one of those dudes who was like doing a bunch of extra stuff. Even in college, I wasn't doing that. Like people were getting the people, especially people who want to do things like being a lawyer or a doctor or doing all the specific stuff to prep. And I was like, I'm just going to school and hooping, right? Because I never was like, oh, I really want to like I'm from Arkansas, which is like I'm right by Walmart. So like everyone's like, work my way up in Walmart. Like that never appealed to me at all, right? And all the people that were wanting to do those things, like I didn't really connect with them, especially like I was a hooper and a lot of those guys, they were, had a different upbringing. So it's just never something that I wanted to do. And then I graduated college in the pandemic, which kind of worked out for me because, all the jobs I was going to take kind of like went away. So I had this period of just kind of like free time. And I didn't plan to get back into e-com because I started e-commerce originally like in 2017 and this in my sophomore summer of college. I had some decent success. I remember telling myself like, oh, this is saturated. like running like selling like cat necklaces, like with like a price cross out. I'm like, I can't believe no one's buying my cat necklace. Mind blowing. And then I was graduating the pandemic and I was just bored and I just went down the rabbit hole of like drop shipping. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna buy a Lamborghini. And then I just went down the rabbit hole and was like started making a little bit of money. And I was like, well, this is great. Like I don't need to get a job. So insane. I just kept going with it. And I think just that original belief of like, once you see some money come in from, a store you created, it's like, oh, I can do this. Right. I just kind of had this belief of like, I think watching all those drop shipping videos, like kind of brainwashed me where I was like, because I watched some of those videos and I mean, no offense, but some of those dudes, I'm just like, this guy's an idiot. I'm like, this guy's making $1 million. Like, I'm not that dumb. I can make a little bit of that. And I was like so broke after the pandemic, living with my parents. I was like, dude, give me $1,000. Like I can make $1,000. And so it came from that. Now we're here.
Huge, man. This is so interesting to me because it's like it always stands out to me whenever I have these conversations how everyone's story is so uniquely theirs. Like it's like the twists and turns that life throws at you. Like talking about the pandemic's obviously horrible just in general, but like kind of a blessing in disguise, at least for your career, like that side of things. Mm-hmm. It's like, holy crap, man. Like that's such a unique thing at that point.
Yeah. It was definitely a blessing in disguise. Like definitely wasn't a great time, but again, I had nothing to do.
Sure.
Like if I didn't have the opportunity to kind of sit in my room and stress out over it and just kind of click away and figure out what to do and, fail. And I would literally just sit at my desk and I would work all day. And then in the evening time, I'd get up and I'd go do DoorDash and Instacart. And I'd literally take that money and donate it to Zuckerberg.
Man, so we got to talk about like the entrepreneurship journey. So something I'm curious about is like you've dipped and dabbled. Now you're in the full time, like freelancing on the entrepreneur side. Like, what I'm curious about is like, have you had that entrepreneurial spirit in you your entire life? Would you say?
Kind of. I wouldn't say I had it like some people who are like, oh yeah, when I was 13, I sold $1 million worth of sneakers. But I think I've always kind of had this like, kind of like I did with the like getting into e-com and seeing the dropshipping people of like, oh, they can do this. I can do this differently, or I can do this better than they can. Like, my first step into entrepreneurship was like, I was like 13 and I played a bunch of Call of Duty and like I would join teams and these teams like had YouTube channels and they would need like backgrounds and intros. And I was like a 12, 13-year-old kid and they didn't want a 12, 13-year-old kid in their team. And so I taught myself how to use Photoshop and how to use the animation software so I could make these stuff for them. So I could join their team. And it ended up growing into like a small YouTube channel, which I will not leak the information on that. It's still live. I don't hide my past. If someone finds it, it's impressive.
We're digging up now. We're digging up, baby. We're cooking.
Selling like YouTube backgrounds and intros way back in the day for like, I was selling for like $5. I even felt bad asking on Xbox. Like, hey man, can you send me $5 for intro? I spent 2 weeks on. So that was kind of my first start. And then, yeah, I think just always like, again, seeing other people do it, I'm like, I can do that. I can do this.
That's so interesting, man. I definitely, because when I describe like entrepreneurship for me, I was a Halo guy. So that's what you catch me on,
Mm,
like Halo for sure.
yes.
It's just like hoops and video games. I was like, that's really my
Yeah,
lane. And I only started figuring it out a little bit after until I had to like stop hooping. And I'm like, all right, well, I need to find something else that equally drives me and try to make sense of it. So love hearing that there was an intertwined element throughout your life, like whether it was super intentional or not, like seeing that is pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
yeah, for sure.
Love it. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about here was the like at a higher level, it's brand side to now your world on like the freelance consulting side of things.
Mhm.
Have you ever been agency side?
Not really.
Okay, so it's like the consulting side and then the brand side. So I guess what I'm curious about is like in your experience here as you transition into the freelance role, it's just like what have you liked about it? What's been tough about it? Like who would you recommend this to?
Man, I love what I'm doing right now. I'll say that. I'll leave with that. It has been awesome. Just getting to do more of the things that I enjoy for more brands and more passionate founders has been awesome, right? Just like seeing like being able to go into some of these smaller businesses, and I say smaller, like it's like 7-figure businesses, and just seeing like where they're at and instantly knowing like, oh, I know where they need to go, or I know what they need to put together. I know what direction they need to go in, and be able to help kind of steer that ship for them has been great. It is challenging. Both agency and brand side, or I'll say that kind of freelancing / brand side, have their challenges. Obviously, the freelancing thing and what I'm learning right now is just kind of how to manage my time and how to have clear processes for things, because I've been on the brand side for so long, and I go too deep on things, right? Like I will spend an entire day on one brand and just on creative. And so right now I'm trying to figure out how to like time box for certain things, again, because I'm providing, pretty much everything in terms of like media buying, creative strategy, landing page and offer strategy. So figuring out how to kind of time box those activities for each of the brands and just be efficient on what I'm doing and what I'm putting out, especially with AI. Struggle has been like understanding which AI tools to use and how to use them efficiently. An issue that I have a lot, and I'm sure other people have this as well, is like using like just over prompting, right? Like I'll be like, write 10 headlines. I don't like this. I like this one. Write 10 more. And I'll just like keep going. And I'm like, what am I even doing? Like, and then the end goal is like, I just need to get 3 clear headlines to put on these static ads. So trying to be more concise, going less off of vibe, especially after being at supply for so long. I went off of like, vibe for so much, because I knew what, like I'd worked with the same team for so long. So we had understood our processes, like even without having them like clearly defined, like an SOP doc, like we had some, but like it wasn't towards the end, like we just knew that I knew it was going to work for us creatively. I knew how to execute on it. So now as moving to the freelancing side, it's like, how can I create processes that are consistent for my clients? And how can I just do the thing, right? Like, what is the actual thing that I need to do? Like, I think for me, I'm always trying to think like, what would the homework be? Like, what would I turn into the professor or my teacher, right? It's like, oh, I need to turn in 3 static ads with 3 different headlines, right? That's all I need. That could be done in 20 minutes. So I don't need to be spending, hours, prompting ChatGPT, pulling up different, swipe files. Like, just figure out what the homework is and just get it done. Is something that I'm trying to get better at right now, because I don't have that. Hey, I can spend 60 hours this week on one brand.
I think a lot of people can resonate with that, honestly. It's like certain types of people just want to go deep, 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 deep and like solve the problem. And you'd mentioned there, like, okay, I need to pull myself back a little bit. Can you talk about an example or any like mental models you'll follow to be like, whoa, 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 okay, doing too much in this case for anyone else who might be in your shoes?
I think the one I just talked about of like, just do the thing is one of the most important things. And then trying to start the week with like, just like, what are the top 3 things that we need to grow the business? Question that I like to ask. Like, we used to do this at the supply offsites, was like, if we had to do one thing to 10x the business, what would that be? And like asking yourself that. So I'll ask my clients that, like, hey, well, if we do one thing to 10x the business, like, what would that be? Right. And trying to anchor ourselves on that of like, okay, like we need creative. Like from one of my brands right now, it's like we just kind of did the math, right? Of like his cost per outbound click is like $5, right? And his, his AOV is like $60. Like the math just does not math to hit his CAC target. So it's like, I don't want to focus on cost per outbound click as a metric we're optimizing for, but the match just doesn't match. So we have to get better creative, more engaging creative, get your cost down. And so that's the number one thing we have to do. So it's like, hey, this week, the only thing that matters for us is putting out better creative and just trying to anchor that. Like I just use a notebook. I'm not the most organized person, but I'll just write that down of like, hey, all I'm doing this week is making better creative. If I didn't do anything else, as long as I made better creative, that's what we need to do. And again, for me right now, just like focusing on what is the highest impact thing we can accomplish, and then just focusing on like, again, like doing the thing, but thinking through it of like results are the only thing that matters. Like it doesn't matter if I put together the most clean, process doc or, a bunch of information for their team. Like all that matters is that they're getting results and they're getting better creative or whatever the input is, and the business is growing profitably. So just trying to anchor myself on the results.
So good. I don't know if you ever heard of Frank Slootman, but he's the CEO of like a Snowflake and a bunch of other like really large companies, essentially, or used to be. And he has a book called Amp It Up. Like he's a guy who's like really focuses on executing at a high level. And one of the things that he talks about is this idea of if you have focuses, plural, you actually don't have a focus. So it's like all you have is a single focus, like make that happen. So it sounds so, as soon as you're talking about that, it's reminiscent of when I was just like reading through the pages and I'm like, shit, all right, I got too much on my plate. Like what's going on? How do we make it simpler?
The focus thing is so important. Like we used EOS at Supply, Entrepreneur's Operating System. And so you set rocks quarterly, which, are basically your quarterly goals. And we first started with that, everyone would have like 3 or 4 rocks. And by the end, we would get down to like, 2 or even 1 rock. It came to the point where like the rocks were always like incremental. Like they were always should be like net new things outside of the things that you're doing daily. Right. And at Supply, like our growth like flywheel was just like focusing on paid social and continuously following the data to iterate and improve on the core inputs, creative offer, landing page, email, SMS offer, etc. And we'd have these rocks where it's like, I want to build this thing, or I want to do that. And we'd have like 3 of them. Right. And it was always like this stress of like, we're focusing on doing that core growth flywheel, which is like the day-to-day stuff. And then we throw in these extra rocks on top of it. And rather they would not get done or they get done half-assed, or it would take away from the current thing. And so we just had to be like, hey, like if we're adding something that's like a net new rock, like one, it needs to be like for the whole team of like, everyone needs to have a part in growing this thing. It needs to be super intentional. And then also like setting our goals on that day-to-day, right? Of like, what is the day-to-day goal for this 90-day period for each person on the team? Even if that's not like something new and like a big something you're adding to the business, it's just doing that core thing better.
Man, I'm reminded again of what Frank Slootman said. I'm just like, it's all coming back to my head now. But in that instance, it's like where you have multiple focuses is like the reason that you want to do that is it's because you're mitigating against not doing that singular thing. Like you may say something like, I didn't do it or I did it 50%, but guess what? I got XYZ done. Like, come on, like I did XYZ. But it's like, no. The thing that matters is lock in there. So having extreme clarity across the team, if you are adding new things and who's responsible, seems like a natural fit. So I love the EOS. I love the EOS approach. I am wondering though, like Supply must have been such an interesting experience. Like the time that it was happening, the freaking market, the experience you would have had. So I guess I'm curious about 2 things, and we can tackle them in order here. But the first thing is honestly tactically. So you've talked about some of the processes and procedures, but I'm wondering, like tactically speaking, anyone who is working for such like a high growth company, it's like, what are some of the things that you learned along your journey?
Man, great question. I think one of the main things I learned was similar to what I was just talking about, which is just like real growth happened for us from consistent focus and consistent execution iteration on one core initiative. right? Like for us, it was Meta, and I know a lot of other DTC brands, that's where a lot of that focus is, but it was just doing Meta better over and over again, right? Can we make better creatives? Can we make better landing pages? Can we make better emails? Can we improve our flows? Can we make better offers? And for us, like we were kind of forced to, as a brand that was oddly enough did not have a bunch of LTV, which is, I feel like, shocks people because like they think razor and blades business model, we're cheap handle, expensive blades, where we kind of flipped it on its head, where it's just like, hey, more expensive handle, guaranteed for life, and then very cheap blades that last a long time. So we were forced to be profitable on that first purchase. And as we all know, your CAC is going to naturally go up. And so we were forced to move quick and push on both ends of the funnel for us to continue to grow and hit those growth targets. So, right, again, we like creative was pretty much, I'd say, our biggest focus, and the thing that moved the needle for us the most. It was the thing that we had the most like wins on, like as far as like blowing up the business. But we also had to push again across the funnel. Like we had to optimize, test new landing pages, optimize CRO to get like, can we get our AOV up? Can we pull that CAC down just a little bit, right? Like we didn't scale into LTV too much, but like, can we get our LTV up? Can we get that repurchase rate up a little bit so we can scale into a higher MER, or scale, I guess, a lower MER if you're looking at it from a ROAS perspective. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing. I know we talked a lot about focus, but yeah, just staying focused. Just the periods where we slow down were periods where we try to do too much, right? Like, oh, let's do more like TikTok organic. Like let's make this a real focus for us. Or let's I can't even think of like random things that we tried. Every time we try to add something new in, that was like net new, is where things slowed down. Like I'm not saying don't just do one thing, but like do one thing until you're pretty maxed out. And then when you try to expand, like expand into things that work naturally. Like if you are producing, like for us at Supply, we produce a lot of like long form high production content. And so it made sense for, once we were starting to scale up on Meta and tapped out, to scale to YouTube. And we didn't scale YouTube a lot, but that transition made sense for us because our content that we made naturally fit, right? Like we couldn't naturally scale into like TikTok. I feel like no one does TikTok ads anymore. But back in the day, people were doing TikTok ads more. That wasn't as easy for us because we didn't make as much like native, Instagram reel or like 9x16 content.
Feels like you played on hard mode, man. Just like the economics on that, like, sounds like hard mode now.
Dude, I've seen some businesses now with just some crazy LTV and some crazy subscription numbers. I was like, man, must be nice. Sounds awesome, dude.
As you were forged through the fire, you kind of talked earlier about how you had thrown together like this, it's probably not the right word, but like misfit team, or like the team that can just like hold it all together. So it's like, who were some of those, or what were the roles that you filled to put this together so it worked so well?
Dude, we had an awesome team, and it was kind of a ragtag team. It was me, who at the time was like, didn't really know what I was doing. Like I remember coming in and we were spending like $2K a day on Meta, and I was like, Patrick, like, hey, go in and update the budgets. And I was like, okay. I even made it my own. I think I spent like $1,000 a day. This is like 2021. So it was me as kind of like the head of growth. We had a copywriter / email specialist who had just like taught himself how to write copy. He had been a youth pastor. We had a developer from Africa who also helped us with the landing pages. And then our creative director was like the first employee at Supply, who started as like a CX employee. And the team worked great, but we all kind of had a chip on our shoulder. I think was one of the reasons why it worked so well. We're also hybrid. We're in the office. And so we just like all were just like had the chip on our shoulder to grow the brand. Patrick put a ton of belief into us as well. Like Patrick was a great leader. Like he didn't handhold, right? For better or worse. Like he just kind of like threw me into the fire. I was like, all right, this is great. He's like, hey, here's the numbers, hit them. And so he put a lot of belief into us. And so we all kind of had the chip on our shoulder. And it was like, we all felt like we were figuring it out together. Right. And so one thing that worked really well for us, and I've talked to other brands about this, is like, we were anchored around paid social, right? I've already said that, and everyone had owned a part of the funnel, right? We had the guy who owned email and also wrote the copy. We had a guy who owned the landing pages and a guy who owned the creative. And me who owned the media buying and kind of overall strategy. But like we would meet every single week and go over what worked and what didn't. And everyone would talk through what we need to do. Everyone was on the creative calls, right? Like we'd have ideas come from the developer for creative ideas, right? Like everyone knew what was working, right? You could go to the email guy and say, hey, what's the best creative in the account? He would tell you, hey, it's made round 4. This is exactly what it does. Like everybody knew what was working and what exactly we were doing. You could you guys, the copywriter, like, hey, what's working on ads? Like you could ask the creative guy, like what our landing page structure is, and he could probably tell you exactly what it was, right? Because we were just so in sync, and just all of us were focused on like not having an ego, because we all felt like we didn't know what we were doing. So just kind of growing together, and just following the data, and just just working to build around a central goal.
That is huge, man. Something I talk about quite often is this idea of put the pressure on the people, not the process. If you have great people who can just figure it out, they will build the processes that are necessary, that keep it afloat. But it's like, just let people fly at that point. I think I'm personally trying to figure out when that breaks. I'm like, at some point, like people are telling me about scale, people are telling me about process all the freaking time, right? But I'm like, no. Like if you have great people, they will crush. They will find the way, right?
Yeah.
Not no process, but they will crush. So I'm curious to get your take, like on when you think something like that breaks.
Man, that's a great question. Something I've been thinking about as well. I mean, obviously, as supply scaled up to that kind of low to mid 8 figures mark, and kind of see some of these larger brands, like it becomes much harder when the challenge becomes volume, right? That's a much different challenge. And that's where like you can rely, like when you're like 7 figures, you're kind of out of that point, like you can rely on people to just like kind of be dogs. Like if you can go make good creative, like go make good creative. Yep. But then it's a lot harder when it's like, hey, go make good creative. We just need 5 ads this week. For the challenge becomes go make good creative. We need to make 50 ads this week. Right? It's like, that's a much different challenge. Like even if you are a dog, you can make the 5 best ads. Like if you're just continuing that same workflow you did to make the 5 best ads, like how high can you scale that? Right? Like maybe you work yourself to the bone, you can get 15. These are not real numbers. I'm just using these as like heuristics for this. So I think it's like you still need to have those people who are like the dogs who are like, I'm just gonna go figure this out, but they need to take a step out of like, it's kind of like the entrepreneur's example, or like a framework of like working on the business, not working in the business. Like you need to have those people like, okay, I need to step out. I can only max it at 10. We have to solve the problem of how do we get to 30. And they need to kind of build the processes for themselves. And I think having them build the processes, because I've had this issue in the past of like I was just doing this for a brand. I was helping them with their creative processes. And I was like building the Notion workflow. And I was kind of like, hey, this is how it's going to work. And I started doing all this. And I was like, this works for me, but I'm not the one doing this. Right? Like this needs to be collaborative, or like you need to not figure it out yourself, but like it needs to work for you. Right? Because this might work for me, but I'm not the one touching it. So having those dogs, build out take that initiative or the drive that they have and convert it from working in the business to working on the business to solve the problem of how do we produce more.
I think that's so freaking important and understated. Because just like, I think a lot of people, when you think of like becoming leaders, a common piece is like, what is the process to make this come to life so it can scale? Again, I'm still trying to figure this out. So I don't feel like I have the right answer. But something is very powerful about having, like, at least in your shoes, like frameworks that you can follow. But it's like those people who are actually in this work finding the best way to do it. If I'm just dictating how you should do your work, I feel like it's just going to lead to not great outcomes, because then you have people who aren't thinking and like they're not super happy. They're just like, okay, let me do the job. So something's very, very powerful about that, man. Very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the other piece, so there's the tactical side of things. The other piece that I'm interested about is like you referenced a bunch of different times. It's like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Right. So I think the piece that I'm curious about outside of just like tactical, like work and structure is what you learned about yourself through this entire process of working at Supply.
Great question. I learned that I have no idea what I'm doing, and nobody has any idea what they're doing. That's something that I learned. But just kind of embrace kind of the chaos. Something that I've thought a lot about recently is like, especially as towards the end of my time at Supply and things were getting like very hectic as we're scaling up, we're launching new products, is trying to stop trying to make order of the chaos, but trying to find the clarity within that, like trying to find what is the homework inside of that, because it's always going to be chaos. And I for so long I thought, oh, it's just supply, it's just me. We're moving so quick. I knew I don't really understand process, but after seeing more brands and being, having more experience, like it's like it's across the board. Even the brands, like, oh, this brand's super polished up, or you see someone tweeting like, hey, it's exactly how we do this. Like it's probably chaos. And we're everyone's growing super quick, and your business is probably going to break, right? Like if you're at 7 figures, you're going to cross 8, you're going to break, you're going to scale up, you're going to get to like mid 8 figures, and you're going to break again. So just continuously trying to find clarity in the chaos. I think the mental like image for me when I think about this is like a surfer, like in the wave. I'm just thinking about myself. Like I'm the surfer, like in the barrel of the wave, like seeing forward. For some reason that makes sense to me. I'm like, because there'd be so many times where things would be chaotic, and I'm like, I need to build better processes. I need to take a step back. I need to organize this. And it's like, no, you don't. You should do the thing. You should do the thing that matters. And again, sometimes I'll use the creative example. Like all thing that matters is that I make a better ad right now. Right. Yeah. Or it could be process. Like I need to solve this thing on the process, but like, it's not always like I need to organize everything. Just do the thing.
So incredible. I am wondering about one other element. So there's like the piece that's within yourself and like making sense of the world and like moving forward from there. And then there's the collaborative element that I often think about as you start to scale a team. So what I'm curious about is like, if you have any tips on, or starting with opinions, do you have any opinions on how important communication is? Like just like amongst team members? And then as time went on, did you learn anything about like how to become a better communicator as you scaled?
Man, I mean, obviously, I feel like the obvious answer is like communication obviously is massive. Like it's super important. Not just communicating frequently, but communicating thoroughly. I think for me, it's been a growing process on how to communicate clearly. And still something that I'm growing with, of like, what is the thing? I feel like I keep coming back to this, like, what is the homework? If I'm communicating to somebody, like, what do we need to get done? Especially if it's like, if you're communicating with somebody who is, I keep saying like a dog, someone who's just going to go and get it done, right? Like I still need to communicate with them, like what the output is, right? Because I want them to put their own, like attack the problem and use their own expertise. But at the end of the day, there's still something that I need to get out of that. So I think just like over communicating, like always like sending an agenda before calls. Like I'm going into some tactical things on just a rant, like sending agenda before calls, making sure people put together like pre-notes on calls, following up, right? Having people confirm like after a call of like, hey, if I follow up with action items, like confirm with me that you understand this, right? If you have questions, like ask me, and just having like open communication. I feel like it's like an obvious thing, but like it's okay to ask questions, like having that sense of camaraderie that we're a team, we're all figuring this thing out. Like it's okay if I wasn't clear and you didn't understand, but it's more of an issue if we work on something for a whole week and then we get the output and it's not what we need. So just being extra clear on what that homework is, communicating before and after, over communicating things on what's working and why. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else to add, but
Trace, man, you've been so generous with your time, and we didn't even really get a chance to get too deep into the tactics because I've loved this conversation. I love talking about how people are wired. Like that's what's fun for me, at least.
Absolutely.
So the last question I have for you, I ask everybody who comes up here about, because I want to put together some type of like intense stitch at some point. If you don't have an immediate answer, it's all good. Toss it to me. Right. I got your back. But I'm wondering, do you have a favorite quote? And if so, what is it and why?
Man, you sent this question over yesterday, or I read over it yesterday, and the first thing that popped into mind was a quote I've been saying, which is "just do the thing." Actually, I'll mix it up. I'll have a second quote, which is another quote I've been saying all the time, which is don't get lost in the sauce. Let's use that one. Don't get lost in the sauce. I know it's not the deepest quote, but it kind of comes back to what I've been saying of like, what is the thing that really matters? What is the output? And then do that thing and do it the best. I talked about AI tools and getting lost in the AI tools. There's so many of them. You can prompt for days. You can try to fine tune. Like, you can find out or decide what the thing you need to put out is, and focus on making that the best thing possible. Like, it feels very oversimplified, but just don't get lost in the sauce, right? Like the long process doc or the loom you're going to put together is not going to change the business, but the ad you're going to launch very well could.
I love that, man. Honestly, the simple stuff is usually the best stuff. It's the easiest pieces to bring up when you're just like overcomplicating things and you're like, oh, hold on. We're in the sauce right now.
The creative,
get lost.
That quote came from like creative. And I think I tweeted this like a week or two ago of like I started saying this in times where we would get on like this creative treadmill, dude, where we would just be like over following the data and like iterating, and like, especially as a business that was so first purchase driven, like we had to get new creative to work for us to be able to kind of hit that next growth. And so we'd be like just churning out stuff, like we need more volume, and it would get us nowhere, and we'd just be like lost in the sauce, right? Especially like you get to a point where like you start reaching like a creative fatigue, right? And it's like we're just doing the same thing. We're producing worse creative around the same kind of angle and the same demo, right? So you're kind of sending yourself in this spiral, and you get like lost in the sauce. I'm like, oh, how do we make a better process? We need more creative. How do we get some more diverse creative? And it's like, dude, just stop for a second, right? Just take a step back. Like, what the hell do we need to do right now?
Love that. I love that, man. Trace, any final words you want to leave with the audience?
No, I've been ranting for a while. Just don't get lost in the sauce this week. Have fun. We're clicking keyboards for a living.
Yo, that's for real. That's for real. I think there's something about that too. It's like not take ourselves too seriously. Like, enjoy every day, like you spoke about earlier. Like, do something you actually like to do. So there's something in there about making it all tie together. But everybody, you got to tap in with boy Trace. Does everyone call you Bubba? Like, is that what this is?
Dude, one reason I don't tweet too often, one reason I have not tweeted a ton is because I hate my username. I need to change it. I made this username when I was just lurking on Twitter, like 2020, 2021, I guess it says. I get the receipts. And Bubba was like my nickname in college. Or my
oh, that's fire. I'm not mad at that then, man. I'm not mad at that.
I don't change it now. I'm stuck as this forever, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Next time we got to put Trace, Bubba in quotes, and then Crawford, and then you're good to go. Trace, I appreciate you, my brother. This was incredible. We got to run it back and get deeper at some point into the tactics, but like this was.
Yeah, we didn't get too much into creative. I can yap for days on creative. So
for sure, we got to do that again. But no, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for being open. Thanks for being open and stuff. I'm gonna talk to you soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Great chatting, Evan.
Later. Man, everybody, that is Trace. I'm so happy. Like I kind of hijacked a bunch of the call to go into some of the personal stuff because I just haven't had a chance to talk to Trace in forever. Like me and this guy talked honestly a bunch of times 4 years ago. So now getting the chance to actually like get into his brain, and after he's been through that process, getting a bigger peek into what's been going on, like I got so naturally curious. Like, whoa, man, like how are you wired? What did you learn? That was such a wild experience. Crap, like what are you doing? So it just removes me from the tactics because I know Trace like that. Like him and I had so many conversations early on when I just started at Motion. So that's why I was so happy he was able to tell some of that story. But everybody, welcome to the party. I see some of the viewer count jumping. So hello. My name is Evan. I'm head of partnerships here at Motion, and this is ThumbstopLive. So we are live every Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. We're across so many different platforms. So shout out LinkedIn, YouTube Live, Twitter and X, of course, as well as Instagram Live. My peoples, what's going on? So here, if you want to tap in with us, check us out at ThumbstopLive, at ThumbstopLive, at ThumbstopLive. We're posting all the stuff here, all that good stuff. And in a little bit, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Rabah joining us later. Rabah is someone I've appreciated from afar for quite a bit of time. And I'm so excited for him to come and be able to talk about his story and what's been going on. But everybody, I have to go pick up a package from my door. I ain't gonna lie to you. So I'm gonna put a timer on. I'm gonna be back in a couple minutes, okay? So until then, peace, and we'll be back with Rabah, okay? Hey, hey, hey. Okay, I'm back early. Let's jam out to the music. Dun, dun. What's happening, y'all? Thanks for the patience. I appreciate it. Shout out to my boy Trace, man. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. I think we all gotta call him Bubba from now on. Just because he hasn't changed his Twitter username, gotta call him Bubs. Bubba, 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 Bubba. But y'all, I really appreciate the eyes and ears on these. This is so much fun. I enjoy talking to people about this kind of stuff. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are going to have Rabah joining us. So Rabah from Vermont is going to be joining us, and we're going to get a chance to peek into his story and what he's all about. But if anyone has been to one of these sessions before, you know how this goes. In between guests, something I always try to remind myself with a good old sticky note is stand and stretch. You know why? Because your boy's going to have back pain if I don't do that. So we got to make sure to take care of ourselves. So if you can and you're with me here, what I will encourage you to do is get to standing, okay? So I'm lucky enough. I have a little standing desk. I have some like nice little like Hoka slides I'm rocking, which make it easy on my feet so it doesn't hurt too much. But if you are able to, I would encourage you to get to standing. If you're not able to, get to stretching. All of that coming together is going to be good, okay? Cool. Wow. Hey. So this playlist is called the Chill Hop. So with the Chill Hop, you literally just catch your 1, 2. Hey. Oh man. Everybody, I think one of the things that I'm curious to get everyone's take on, so let me know in the chat wherever you're tuning in from, is if everybody had a chance to check out the Apple event yesterday where they launched a bunch of new things. So interesting. They launched the the iPhone Air. So we're starting to see them start to venture out into different elements, sharing the same brand, look and feel, now applying it to different products. So of course, you started with the MacBook Air, starting to see that translate across. So I thought that was pretty cool. Was pretty happy to see that. But I wonder if anybody else had any opinions coming there. But everybody, now that we're up, I've given you all enough time. Gotta get your stretching in, okay? For me, I focus on the back, focus on the chest. I know you're probably laughing in your rooms, but don't worry about it. Don't laugh. Just enjoy a stretch. It'll bring you back to life, okay? Thanks, y'all. Yeah, from the conversation with Trace, I think what's so interesting about Trace's story is like, I always look for commonalities. That's the first thing that I'm trying to understand, like Trace's background and what's going on. And immediately when I was looking through what he had going on Twitter and I saw him throwing up and boom, banging on him with a quick dunk, one of the things that I immediately caught my eye was basketball, of course, right? So for anyone who's been here before, you know, I was doing this before I was like typing my keyboard like this. So I knew there was immediate opportunity to chat through that. And like, it's always interesting to talk about like a previous, I won't say just athlete, I would say someone who had something they deeply cared about that defined them. And then that changes. Because when you run into those moments of change, that's when you're almost required to be like, all right, well, how do I take that same energy and be able to put it towards something else that I care about equally, if not more about? So there's so much personal work that you have to go through in defining what that meant. And you'll notice that theme throughout my conversation with Trace. If you missed it, all you need to do is rewind to the beginning of this thing. But from the beginning of the conversation with Trace, I found it so interesting how we started getting into like his time at Supply and what he had learned about not just, hey, let's build a team of misfits who absolutely grind. They got the dog in them and they're going to make it happen. But at least learning about himself. And it's like the different elements of being able to say, all right, how do I communicate across the board to the necessary people and making that come to life? But then also being able to say like, all right, what do I know and what do I not know? And guess what? Everybody is the same as me. We might think that they understand what's going on, but everybody is going through this thing called life together and trying their best to find out different solutions. I think that's one of the core reasons why when I'm having these chats, that I dive so deep into people's mental models on how they view the world, basically, right? Like, I'm not just saying your work life. It's like, how do you fit work into everything else that you have going on that you consider to be your world? So why I've appreciated those portions of it, because like we're all humans at the end of the day. So when I'm having these conversations, I really get the privilege to not only just see like these are people we know, right? We see them on Twitter, we see what they're putting out into the world, but we don't really know them like that. Like, why do they tick the way that they tick? It's one thing to have a strong opinion on everything, and like that's what Twitter is made for, and that's what's rewarded at the end of the day. It's another thing to know the nuance that starts to come with that. Y'all, you're gonna start to hear the fire alarm, I think, that goes off. Let me know. Let me know if it's just me. Can everybody hear that? If you're tuning in somewhere and you got it, let me know if you can hear it. Let me know if you can hear the background noise. But I'm gonna try my best to be able to block it out. That's one of the things about living in a building. But like I was saying, with Trace in our conversation a little bit earlier, him being able to have his experience at Supply and not only just learn the importance of building out such a killer team that helps you get to your destination, but what he had learned about himself, being able to say, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, there's some things I know what I'm doing, but I know there's a lot of things I don't know what I'm doing. But guess what? When I talk to all of the people who are established and been through this before, they're also trying to figure it out. They might have mental models and frameworks that they lean into, but everyone is just trying to figure it out in some capacity. So that's why I think like with Trace in that conversation, and like why when I'm talking to so many other people on these streams, like it's quite fun to have this dialogue, because of course we see the tweets and we get peaks and what people decide to show their brain or which parts of their brains they want to show. Kind of get to talk about the story. It's like the character development around who these people are and like why they think these ways. So much of that has been an amazing experience trying to get a peek behind the curtain. And like I spoke about a little bit earlier, this has been such a fun episode too, because Trace I've been knowing for the past 4.5 years, potentially at this point. And then now, who I'm going to welcome to the stage in a very short second here, we're going to have Rabah join us. And like Rabah is someone I've like definitely admired from afar, just seeing what he has going on and all the amazing work that he's been able to put together. Something that you're able to see and like be inspired by, right? So getting a peek behind the curtain into understanding like why he is the way he is seems like such a cool experience. So I'm so blessed and so honored to be able to welcome Rabah to the stage. So everybody, if we can, let's show this guy some love, all right?
What an intro, man. I feel like I'm what's the K-pop dude where that meme of where he's under stage and then I just got shot up onto the stage. Like that's a strong intro, Evan. You're getting good at this, my man. You're getting good at this.
It's real, man. It's real. Like I might not tell it to your face, but I'm using these opportunities as like a love letter in a sense. So I'm just like, man, you do your thing. You do your thing.
Dirty little secret, 100% why I started all the podcasts I started. It's such a easy, non-creepy way to get like chats with really interesting people. So I applaud it.
We're on the same wavelength, man. Ooh, okay. What do you got? Well, how's the move? First of all, I got to check in. How are things? How you doing?
It's not bad. I got to tell you so I don't know if you can see, but we got a really nice view.
Okay.
So that's not horrible. The move has been great. The one challenge was I have some fancy things and I told the movers, hey, don't F up these two things. And they messed one of them up. So that's a little, it is moving, it's life. And I ended up tipping them as well. And like, I don't know, I just feel bad. Like these just kind of some kids trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, getting it done, their journeys in life. So the move has been great, especially karmically for me as well, because I got to unload a bunch of stuff that was really nice, but I never use it. And so being able to kind of just gift it to these kids was really nice. And it's really perplexing how it's really hard to get rid of stuff, dude. Like it's almost easier just to throw it away. Like you got to package it up and then take it to Goodwill or do all this stuff. And it sounds like so first world problems. So I was really happy to be able to make their lives better, my lives better. Win-win for the whole crew. But yeah, moving is terrible for my brain though. I'm so OCD where like I like everything where it is. And so but we're getting there, Evan. We're getting there. Thank you for asking.
Awesome, man. Awesome, awesome. Well, I love the view. I'm sorry to hear about like the couple individual things that you pointed out.
It's just stuff, you know. It is. It's a good opportunity for me to be less materialistic.
And I feel like as a sneakerhead, that's one of those issues. Like
Yeah,
I definitely had so many kicks growing up, and I started to part ways with them and be like, all right, who's the best person to give these pairs to?
exactly.
And that was
Yeah.
hard. Like that was hard because there's a lot
It's
of
hard.
emotional attachment. It's like an
Yes,
identity thing, like
it's
tough.
hard. It is hard. It is hard. But yeah, if you guys are listening out there, go give something away. Make somebody's life better today.
I love that, man. Rab, there's so much that I want to get into with you, but I think before we do that, I don't know who wouldn't be familiar with you, but for those who might not be, I'm wondering if we can start off nice and easy with a quick tell us about yourself, a little professional, a little personal, whatever you're open to
Yeah.
share. We can take from
Yeah,
there.
I'll give you the Rabah elevator pitch. So, born in Arizona, grew up in Indiana, went to IU, wanted to be an investment banker, shadowed an investment banker, realized I didn't want to be an investment banker, ended up graduating with an economics degree. And then I was just trying to figure it out. I graduated in 08. So for people that aren't hip with finance history, not the best time, not the best time to go into the workforce. So I was really struggling trying to figure out what my place in the world was. What I knew I was great at a bunch of things. I just didn't know how to make bets. Didn't. So I got really nerdy. I got into like AWS builds. I got into website development. I got into photography. And a friend of mine, his wife was at the time, I mean, she still is, but she was like quasi big on Instagram, and in specific, like teaching people how to do handstands for yogis. And she hit me up and she was like, they had just recently moved to Costa Rica. And she was like, hey, do you want to come out here and shoot the ebook and design an ebook on handstands? And then we sell it and we make some money. I was like, I don't got anything else to do. Let's fucking send it. And then that was kind of my first foray into paid ads. And so I was like, oh man, this is again, I'm old. So this is back in the day when you put $1 and you get $6 out. So it was incredible. And from that, I went to a luxury real estate firm running all the marketing there. Then I moved over to Whole Foods, running all the paid media for the recruitment vertical over at Whole Foods. Really cool company, not for me, but very cool company. And then from Whole Foods, I moved to a agency out of New York called Flatiron, where that was the first time I was spending like real money, where we were spending millions of dollars a month. And it was a little bit odd because these were all VC backed apps like Clutter, Wag, like Life 360, like really, really big budgets and apps. And one, app buying is a little bit different than actual like DR buying, but that was just you have problems of scale that I had never encountered before. So that was really amazing. I left there to start my own agency, and then from there I ended up hooking up with AJ at Triple Whale from Twitter. I actually invested in the safe, and then they convinced me to come on as CMO. We did a bunch of that was a really unique time and place in history, I think, where D2C Twitter was in a really interesting, awesome place. The founders, AJ and Max, were incredible. iOS 14 had just dropped, so there was a big, big pain point. And AJ and Max just gave me the reins, man. They were really cool about giving me like leadway into building a really interesting, fun brand. So that was there was like a couple month period where we were actually the fastest growing company ever. So that was great. That was just a perfect storm of awesomeness. That like to replicate that would be really hard. But we did run it back with my current company, Fermat. Well, to be fair, I left Triple Whale. I took 3 months off. I went and did a whole vision quest across Europe, 30 days, really, really fun trip. And then Rishib, my boss and CEO, co-founder of Fermat, kind of just started courting me a little bit. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is interesting. I really actually enjoy consulting. So I'll jump on for a couple months of consulting. And then just so happens the company offsite was in Austin. This was 2 years ago. So I went and joined the team for the offsite, and I was like, man, Shreyas is an absolute killer, other co-founder and CTO. The team was amazing. And yeah, decided to hitch my horse to the Fairmont wagon, and that's how we ended up here.
Man, I freaking love it. I freaking love it. Now, one of the things as you tell your story that's so interesting to me is like how many different types of jobs you've done,
Dude.
how many different industries you've been in, how many
Yep.
different sizes of companies you've
Yep.
been at. So
Yep.
the first thing that I'm curious about is like if you're speaking to someone earlier in their career and they're trying to, like, you talked about the vision, the
Yep.
vision mapping that you were doing. Did you believe, like, did you have a map of saying, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then it's going to open up doors to do this, then do this? Or how did this all come to be?
Yeah, no, this is because I'm old now. I can start giving like old man advice, like sitting on the porch with the little youngin coming about. I think the worst thing that can happen with a 3 to 5 year plan is it comes true. I don't think that, not to say that you shouldn't have goals and waypoints and things in your life, but life is wild, man. And if you try and tame it, it will beat you up. But if you, I'm a big Bruce Lee guy, and I think it's kind of his quote on "Be the cup." So when you can be the cup, or be water, because water can crash, it can rain, it can do all these things. It can be the cup, it can be the teapot, it can do all these things. So I think for me, the best advice that I got was twofold. One, don't follow your passions. Like that's the dumbest, worst advice ever. That's not to say that it's the second dumbest, worst advice ever is make your weaknesses into strengths. I think those are two horrible pieces of advice. What you should do is in your 20s, when you're young, you have no obligations. You usually don't have a significant other. You're naive to the world. Be super curious. And so learn in your 20s, earn in your 30s. So I took a huge hit in terms of my 20s for my earning power because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was just a curious kitty doing all these things. And then it ended up that, hey, I was really good at this marketing thing. Let's lean in more there. So for me, being curious when you're young is really smart. And then as you get older, start to specialize. That for me is a really helpful, because dude, the dirty little secret is nobody knows what they're doing, man. No, absolutely nobody knows what they're doing. So that would be my piece of advice. And the other thing is, candidly, it's really okay to feel lost in your 20s, especially too when. So I was an athlete pretty much my whole life, and once I stopped, I was sophomore, junior year or so. I had no clue how to set up my life. Like I had no idea how to set goals, how to structure because it was already done for me. Like the whole thing was win the race. I want to win this meet. I want to be this champion. I want to do this. Okay, cool. And my whole life was just structured and I was just checking the boxes. So once I got all that freedom, it was paralyzing. I don't do well in a vacuum, and I need to have so now I'm like really OCD and structured, but that would be my advice, man, is really be curious in your 20s. Don't worry about making money. You'll make money. And then once you really find what really lights you up and you're good at it, that's where I would make the bets. And so when I was younger and, candidly struggling, I was actually working at a nonprofit, which shout out to the people that are doing that, but that is just so not my scene, dude. It was horrible. It was absolutely a really hard gig, man. It was a really tough time in my life. And for all the people that are in that place, or maybe not even a nonprofit, but there's two things you can do. One, you can have a victim syndrome and say, oh, woe is me. Or two, you can use that frustration and, sometimes even hate to fuel you to level up and change your life and get to a better place. So that was a really, really challenging spot. But yeah, man, learn, be curious. What I did, I made a list of all the things that I'm fucking awesome at, all the things that I really like to do. And where those things overlapped, that's where I made my bets. And I found marketing, in specific paid media, was really helpful for me, because when I was building websites, I realized that I was really actually a decent designer, but I realized you make way more money when you can make other people money, or you can charge more money when you're making other people money. So I would build these amazing websites, and then the client would be like, hey, what's going on? Like, we're not making any money. Is the site broke? I'm like, no, your just business sucks. And so that's a bad place to be in. And I realized, oh, when I can make these people money, I can charge them way more money.
Man, there are so many freaking good things in there. I think the initial threads that I want to pull on is like you talked about your athletics career and that coming to an end. So for me, I had a similar journey. I played like basketball to my end of first year of college. So
Yep.
it's like hoops were everything.
Yep.
Then you also dropped the piece around passion. So it's just like follow your passion. Because something I'm curious about is like I got the advice growing up quite a bit. It's like follow your passion. And when I was younger, I would have defined it as like basketball. It's like a tangible thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But, like, so I'm curious to know like your thoughts there, because you would have, I'm assuming, had a similar experience, and then the work that you had to do to try and determine like what actually made sense for you.
Yep, 100%. This kind of goes back to being curious and open. One of the things that I would really recommend that I did not do is find a mentor. That's something that I really, really struggled with. Risha, the CEO and my current boss, has probably been the best mentor to me in my life. So that's something that I learned not necessarily learned late, but that was something that was really, really, I wish I would have done that better or put more effort into doing that. Yeah, man, I think again, when I say the passion stuff bothers me, it bothers me because there is two things that go into success: effort and capability. Going back to your hoops analogy, there is no world where even if I had 150% effort, I would ever be able to score on LeBron James, because that's a capability vector. And so that's where I'm saying when people have passions of like, hey, dude, like, and again, there's outliers, there's the Muggsy Bogueses of the world where it's like, hey, I have a passion about, but so that's where I just kind of get, and maybe it's like a semantic kind of quagmire of like, maybe I just don't like the word passion. But I think what you'll do is, and honestly, most people know this. There's definitely with like, so I grew up right when like Facebook started, so I can't really relate to these like terminally online things because I'd probably be the same thing, dude. I was an absolute just disaster. I was a hellcat when I was younger, and being able to understand like, hey, this is really what I want to do because I like it and I'm good at it is really hard. But when you do find that, what's really nice is you kind of kick off this flywheel of awesomeness where I think learning is basically a function of, okay, I'm interested in this thing. Okay, cool. I do this thing. I did this thing. I did it kind of well. I get some sort of positive feedback, whether it's friends, family, or just personally proud of what I built. Okay, cool. I want to do it better. So I'm going to learn it more. And then you kind of keep running that loop. I think when you are really good at something, but aren't really into it, you become more of that mercenary, not missionary. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge capitalist. I also understand like people are at different journeys in their life, and dude, I had to do what I had to do when I had to do it. But the number one thing was for me, don't look too far into the future. Like the beauty of the future is it only comes one day at a time. And literally I mean, I still do it to this day of like, I'll kind of self-reflect on my day of like, how am I insulating myself from poverty? What did I do to make sure that I put a floor in? So that's one of the things that I had a
Love
great
that.
finance professor, and he was saying the finance. This is kind of a tangent, but it's just a funny story of I'm going to teach you how to basically be rich, and there's two ways. You can either be really, really stringent with your money, or make so much money it doesn't fucking matter. And so I always found that was really, for me anyways, personally great advice, where I found it harder to save $10,000 than think of ways to make $10,000. And so that's kind of, everybody has different risk tolerances, but ultimately, man, I think at the end of the day, this life is about deep connections with humans you care about. And a lot of times work is going to be a big part of your life. And so I don't know. For me, it's just I want to build cool shit with people that I really like, and ideally make a lot of money and leave the world a better place. Um, so finding out what those ethos are for you that really light you up. And to be fair, like I'm old, so this wasn't like I'm 21 and like, oh, I found Nirvana in a cave like Buddha or something. Like you're gonna figure out the machinations, but the one thing I will say is having good friends in your life that can check you is so huge, where you have people in your life that can say, hey, you know, that's crazy, man. Like that's, you need to pump the brakes there, and having some guardrails on your life is really, really important. And I'm also a big believer in happiness is only real when shared. And again, that doesn't need to be a ubiquitous, like you don't have to adopt Rabah stuff, but the whole point of this kind of tirade is I'm using a lot of words to say, you need to figure out who you are. And it's a lot of work, and it really pays off. But if you don't know who you are, other people will tell you, and that can be a really, really dark, unhappy place.
So interesting. I hear a lot of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like even when you're talking about your financial floor and stability. So it's like your
100%.
safety, your shelter, things taken care of,
Exactly right.
and then moving towards self-actualization. So
That's
man,
exactly.
that makes so much sense. One thing that you had mentioned right at the beginning there was like how important it is to find a mentor.
Yeah.
And I think that's like pretty commonly shared advice, but I'm curious to get your perspective on like what that unlocks for you and who's the good mentor for you.
Yeah, like I said, I did not. This was one of those, I know I should do it, I just never did. For me, a great mentor is, again, kind of Rishab has been the best mentor to me. Max at Triple Whale was also really great, but I think there's a few things. One, I think one of the challenges that I ran into was, how can I find the total person? Because there was mentors that I really respected and thought were absolute killers in X, Y, or Z, but then like their partner hated them, or they weren't really like a great person in terms of societal things. So it was really hard to find that melding of that kind of thing. But I think what a mentor does give you is it gives you a kind of blueprint or a muse that you can start to use as a mirror. And then ideally what happens with a mentor is you get to a place where the student becomes the teacher, and you are now seeing the field the same, or ideally even better than your mentor. And so, yeah, I wish I had more advice on it. If anybody has more advice, that would be something that I'm still interested in. I think a mentor is one of the biggest unlocks in life, and I definitely found mine way too late, and I, you know, candidly paid the price for it. I was just a dude. I was a Looney Tune when I was younger, and if I had somebody, it's almost like a second father figure, or I shouldn't say father, but second like parental figure for me. Like I wouldn't have a problem with a woman being a mentor or anything like that. It's just I think that is something that, yeah, it's really hard to find, but if you can find one, man, you really accelerate. Because the other thing is you get to a place of networking as well. Like this person is usually going to be older, and it's great. One of the best things I've heard in terms of mentorship that was awesome is a 3-tier structure. So you have a person beneath you, and I don't mean beneath you like in a pejorative, but somebody that is aspiring to be where you are. So you can help kind of pull people up over the fence. You have somebody on your same level, so you can have really respectful, candid conversations about really intellectually interesting things or life or what have you. And then you have somebody above you that you aspire to be, that you want to be this muse. And that three-layered or 3-tiered structure for mentorship seems to be really, really interesting.
I really love that. I have to practice this. I think it's helping me reframe. There's a version of, okay, first I need to imagine future self. How do I want to be? Like there's that
Yes.
piece. And I think where I've only focused is like, what are my weaknesses? How do I have to get better? Like, how do I try to improve that? Now hit me with it.
Okay. So that's one of my, that's like, I don't want to say
Remember,
pet peeve,
I remember. Yeah, I remember.
I think that's some of the worst advice. I think when people tell you should make your weaknesses into your strength, I think that's the dumbest advice ever. What you should, or what my recommendation would be, is you make your strengths into absolute world beaters. Like you become one-on-one, and then you just make sure that your weaknesses aren't existential. Like that if you are incredible at spreadsheets and somebody is forcing you to go be a dancer, like you're going to hate yourself, or vice versa, right? If you can't sit still in class when you're learning Excel, but you can just do pirouettes all day. Like, go dance. And so I think that's, again, going back to that self-actualization of like knowing who you are, knowing what lights you up. Because, dude, I've been burnt out multiple times in my career, multiple times at the same company, have you. And burnout is not a function of being overworked. There's a great essay by the guy that is running Boom. They're actually bringing supersonic commercial flight back, which is a whole nother awesome story. But he talks about this great essay. He talks about burnout, and basically burnout is just a function of losing hope, man. Where like the things become futile, and like what you're working on doesn't matter. And so yeah, I would say don't make your like level up all the power bars already, because here's a perfect example. Like for any of the gamers out there, like if you have your power bars, right, like does it really matter? Do you really want to have like a huge average of power bars across, or would you rather be spiky where you have like a couple 8s, 9s, 10s, and then you have some 5s? Like that's going to be way more powerful in the world than being average. Like the only person that I would recommend being a generalist, and even then they're not even generalists, usually they have a superpower, is a CEO. Because you're going to be sitting, or a founder, you're going to be sitting across the whole ecosystem. Outside of that, dude, you got to figure out how to become a specialist in whatever it is that you are really good at. Or at least that's my kind of thesis, where I think that people trying to make their weaknesses into strengths is just, it's not viable, and it's not economically prudent. Like the dirty little secret is, when you're starting small, everybody will pay you because they can't afford the good people. But guess what? If you are really good at your job, what happens is you become a stepping stone, and you just help this company get really good. And guess what? Now I have resources. I'm not going to hire you, Rabah, because I can actually go hire an expert now. I don't need a generalist. And so if you want to make money, that's the only way to make money is have a, or not only way, but in services, have a very, very unique offering that somebody else can't get and or replicate. And if you're a generalist, dude, again, unless you're the CEO or maybe like a chief of staff where you're just kind of, other than that, dude, I think it's really challenging to have a really interesting, vibrant, fulfilling life when you aren't really great at anything.
Man, I
And maybe
love
that's a
where you
hot
took
take.
that. No, I love where you took it, man. That is incredible. The last area of what you had mentioned a couple different pieces back was the work that you had done to say, what am I good at? What do I like in
Yep.
that process? I don't want to undermine like how hard that work even is
Very hard.
to even
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
at that point. So I'm wondering, like, how did you get that clarity to understand what those buckets should even be for yourself?
Dude, poverty's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be broke anymore, man. And I knew, like, hey, there's a great quote where change happens when the pain of the present is greater than the fear of the future. And that's what I'm trying to tell people, man. Take as many, like, front load your life with risk. When I look back at all the dumb shit I did when I was a kid, like, it absolutely terrifies me, dude. I was just, you're crazy. So for me, it's something that is really hard to do. But two things that I think successful people have, or I guess three things: the ability to objectively self-reflect. Like, so going back to running, so I was D1 runner, and there was 3 different cars, man. Like, there was basically the top tier people that were probably going to make money from running. Like, they were my best race, their worst race, I still don't beat them. Then there's this middle tier of, like, kind of, I could beat my best race and their middle race, or their worst race, I beat them, and I was in that kind of like second or third tier. And so if you can't be objective, there's something that I'm a really optimistic, happy-go-lucky guy, but I hate toxic optimism. And you have to be able to say, like, hey, man, I'm not where I want to be. And how can I get there? It's not saying like it's the end of the world. Like, and so I think being able to, there's another great Stoic saying that I'll drop on you. Whenever I get stressed out, I just say this to myself over and over and over again. It's not personal, it's not forever, and it's not important. And once you realize that, then you're just like, hey, man, this is kind of going into a little bit of a hippy dippy, but dude, wake up every day like this is kind of like your last day on earth. Are you spending it how you want to spend it? And if not, if the answer to that is no too many times in a row, then figure out what you want to do and change it. And the crazy thing is, when you start to live your truth and you start to do what you were actually put on this earth to do, the universe actually starts to conspire with you to help you win. And that's kind of in my soul. I know when I'm walking the right path or the wrong path, because when I'm walking the wrong path, the easy things seem really hard. I'm like, why is this so fucking, like, this shouldn't be this hard. Why is it so hard? And when I'm walking my righteous path, the thing that I was put on this earth to do, the hardest stuff feels so easy. And you just start catching breaks and you just start doing this. So, I know we got kind of quasi hippy dippy, but I would find some sort of way to really ground yourself. So I'm super crazy and I got really into meditation. And so not saying like everybody needs to find the cushion or whatever, but find some sort of totem for you that you can rebalance. And whenever I'm feeling sad or anxious, like gratitude. Whenever I'm feeling, wanting to just be a force of nature and kind of kick the world in the dick, ambition. And having that balance for me is really, really helpful. So not to say that it's really easy work, but delayed gratification, objective self-reflection, and gratitude are three things that I think successful, happy people have. You can be successful and a horrible human. Don't get me wrong. So that's not the recipe to be successful. The recipe to be successful, like happy and fulfilled, I think are those three things. And but you're right, dude. It's hard. It's hard work, and sometimes it sucks to see yourself in the mirror and you're not where you want to be. But there's a great line where the definition of hell is meeting the person you could have been on your deathbed. Bars. Mic drops.
Bars. Man, I think one of the reasons why I appreciate talking and like this conversation so much is like I practice mindfulness like every day. Like I have to start my day with it. Have to. Like I find the cushion. That's for sure. I remember I'm tall like a mountain and this too shall pass. Like I need that.
So it's really interesting. So I'm not religious. I'm getting like quasi religious curious, but so I'm big Stoic, big Buddhist, and big Epicureanism. What is so fascinating though is they're like Buddhism and Stoicism are very simpatico. Like it is very, very like different words to say the same thing. And that was really those are really interesting, just kind of tidbit for me when I started getting deep into both of them. I was like, wait a second. These are like the exact same ideals across everything. But yeah, this too shall pass, man. It's a bar. A buddy of mine has it tattooed. And anybody wanting to get into Stoicism or are Stoic curious, Ryan Holiday has some really great books that are very modernized Stoicism. And then if you really want to get into it, the letters from Seneca are one of my favorites. And then obviously there's the pinnacle of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. But anyways, side notes.
So many. Have you been to Japan before? Just sidebar there. Have you been?
No, it's so on the list, dude. It's so on the list. I find that culture, the samurai culture, the honor culture, the what's his Musashi, the five rings, like
there you go.
All that stuff is really, I think it's
That becomes even more overlap with what you're talking about. I'm half 100%. Japanese, half Chinese, and like I have family in Japan, so I get to go see a bunch. And like whenever I end up going to like a Buddhist temple or whatever it might be, they do like a Dharma talk. It's all this, like it's all
exactly right. Yeah, it's dude. One of the challenges of modern world is capitalism has created so much abundance that it has shrouded the simplicity of nature. And I love it, don't get me wrong, but I think it's funny because instead of just like walking every day, working out, and eating semi-clean, you're gonna stab yourself with GLP-1s, which again I think it's fabulous. I think if you can use it but I just find it so interesting that one of my, and I know we're pushing up against time, but one of my last quotes that I'll drop on you is, everything you will ever need of you is already inside. Everything you will ever need is already inside of you. And I find that so empowering and calming, and knowing that, hey man, nothing, I can live this life with no external resources. Like nature will give me everything I need. And I find that, find it beautiful. And I think it's awesome to go back from nature than in a huge fucking high-rise condo. So
The
dichotomy of life.
I have you for 45 minutes if you're cool.
Perfect.
You got 15 more.
Send it. You're good. This has been great. You're a wonderful host.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Now, something that's like so interesting about you is like it's such a balance of there is the future, but you can't control it, and there is the now.
Yep.
And something like on my side, like the basketball story, like one of the things that I had to go through when like stopped playing, it was like, okay, the passion's not basketball. There's something else in there that I really enjoy though. And it was something along the lines of like teamwork, competitiveness, and getting better every day. Like those pieces. And it's like, I can achieve that in whatever I do, honestly, and like finding happiness at that point. And I think the piece that I wanted to get to here is like, you strike me as someone who is able to get clarity extremely quickly. And there's branch off questions I have, but it's like, how the hell do you do it, man? It's not easy.
Yeah, no, I think well, one, thank you. That's very kind words. For me, I think the clarity came from my upbringing. So I was really lucky. I had incredible parents where I always tell people, like, if I could choose 100 out of 100 times, I'd pick them. Like they were wonderful. So my dad is from Algeria. He was an immigrant. My mom's Mexican, but she was born in Arizona, on the Arizona side. So I had this really, I can't remember if it was Goldman or something, but it's a very high probability to build a successful human because you have this immigrant mentality from a parent, and then you have the ability to adopt a native language. So you don't have any linguistic headwinds. But yeah, I mean, my dad was really hard on me when I was younger. And like he loved me and stuff like that. It wasn't that. It was just like my name literally means champion in Arabic, and like it was just win or die kind of thing. And so when I found that, like that's just, I don't think people can change. I think people are pretty much hardwired after their formative years. And I think the most successful people understand, kind of going back to what my strengths are, where are my pitfalls, and how can I build an environment that can accentuate those things. So for me, dude, a lot of the clarity that I get is basically just voracious, like, knowledge consumption. So I'm reading all the time. I love frameworks. I love business memoirs. Weirdly enough, I get a lot of ideas reading fiction. So that's kind of a little bit paradoxical, where it's like the business books are great and the memoirs are great, but when I read fiction, it's almost like my brain can turn off to then find the right answer. But for me, clarity comes from basically exposing myself to just myriad frameworks and adopting the ones that I find. It's almost like a math equation, where when you get in like really high level math, you pretty much know how to do the problem. You just need to identify what that problem is and then attach that solution set, and then you work through that solution set. So that's how I kind of go through life. But I think the finding some grounding frameworks that allow you to synthesize the information has been really helpful for me, because I don't have to recreate the wheel. So like, I'm a big jobs to be done guy. Like I have like 3 to 5 core frameworks that I can always reference against that helps me derive clarity.
I really like that. And one of the interesting things about clarity first, it's like clarity of self and thought is initially the step, but
100%.
then that bleeds into communication.
100%.
So communication is so interesting, because like there's both like business and or this professional and personal on that side. And then within business, there's like all the layers of mentorship you talked about. So it's like the employee, the peer, and the exec, like that type of stuff.
Yep.
So I guess what I'm curious there is like, have you always been a really great communicator? Like when you had this clarity, or is it something you had to work on?
Yeah, it was something that again, like I won kind of the genetic lottery, and like I just kind of naturally happy. And I think a lot of it too was when you're a kid, a lot of your learning is mimetic, where you don't listen to your parents, you look at what they do. And so my dad didn't speak English. My dad only speaks Arabic and French when he moved to the States. And so the way he learned English was he would talk to anybody that would talk to him. Hey, buddy, this, that, you know what I mean? Just to get his reps in. And I saw that where there was nothing to be scared of. Like, you can go talk to people. And then I had the other side of it where my mom was kind of like these softer skills of like, she just had like, I think the kids call it now like a really high emotional EQ, where she could just read a room and understand what that vibe was and adapt to that vibe. So yeah, I really never had a huge problem with communication. I think, as always, when you're younger, I had some things that I really needed to learn. There's a great book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And that's probably the best book I've ever read in terms of learning to manage up. I think managing up is probably one of the hardest things to do, because you're never going to tell your boss what to do, but you also want to drive the best outcomes, and being able to communicate effectively is really the only way to do that. And I did not learn that early on. And that was something that I had to learn by getting kind of my hand slapped or grabbing the pan when it was hot. And so I think for me, communication is the number one skill that you can learn. And I think the biggest thing that I unlocked in that was people want to talk to themselves. And so I'm not to say that you should be fake or anything like that, but like, the more you can meme the person you're talking to, the more kind of comfortable, vulnerable they're going to be, which will unlock better conversations. The other thing, and for all the young dudes out there, humor is the absolute antidote to everything, man. Like, if you can be funny, girls love you, guys want to be around you, you can be a life of the party. And so I think humor is something that is really underrated, and especially highbrow humor, where it's like most of these, like the top comedians, are actually intellectual powerhouses, because they're approaching this really taboo, offensive topic in a really interesting, off the wall way that you never would have got. And a lot of times, some of the best communication is saying something without saying something. And that's when you know you're communicating on a really good level. The other thing is body language is a huge thing in communication. And the last thing I would say on communication is we all have essentially personal bank accounts with different humans. And one of the biggest learnings that I had was a withdrawal is way bigger than a deposit usually. And so the way the human mind works is we will over index on really negative things, and we will under index on really positive things. And for me, anecdotally, dude, I won a ton of races. I was really, really good. I don't remember any of the races I won. I remember all the races I lost. And that is just a human proclivity. And so I think understanding that, and again, I was not like this in my 20s, so I'm not trying to say like I was this godlike prophet that just knew how to communicate, but being able to lose the battle, win the war, is something that was one of the weirdest things in life. Is you can be right but not right. And so that was something that was really, really challenging. And the other thing is, you might just be awesome and around the wrong people. So like, it's going to sound cheesy, and I'm getting in like the dad shit advice, but like, dude, you really are a function of the 5 people you hang out with most, in terms of economics, in terms of personality, in terms of morals, in terms of values. And you're going to absorb what you're around most. And so, yeah, so that's a whole long, rambling, very ineloquent diatribe on communication. But if I would kind of too long didn't read it, is understand and be sincere and understand how that person wants to be communicated with, what kind of body language are they receptive to, and understand what their question is. Like, what are they trying to do? Why are they talking to you? And then the last thing I will say, and this is more so relationship advice than it is business advice, but a guy that I really admired, he had this incredible relationship with his partner, and his wife and him were just great. And I kind of was like, hey man, this is very unique. You guys have been together for so long and there's still like this really great connection. And he was like, yeah, dude, I learned early on that once a conversation that she starts with me, is she wanting agreement or discussion? And so that was really helpful for guys like me because I'm a problem solver. And like when somebody starts talking about that, I was like, oh, this is how you can fix it. Sometimes people just need to bitch. Sometimes people just need to vent, and they're not looking to solve a problem. They just want to say, Billy at work sucks and he gave me all this stuff and I hate it. And so that's something that is really helpful when you understand and you can clock that really early of like, is this person talking to me because they want agreement? Whereas like, yeah, Billy does suck. Fuck that guy. Or is this somebody that's talking to me like, oh, Rabah, what do you think of these marketing strategies? How do they want discussion? And so it sounds really simple, but once you start to deploy that, because the other thing is there's that Mark Twain line of like, never argue with the fool because onlookers can't tell the difference. When you are in that place of just venting and looking for agreement, you will get a lot of not warranted visceral pushback because this person's pissed and they're saying, hey, I just want you to listen to me. And you're like, no, you are being a victim. You can change things. Here's how you can change things. Like, read the room, brother. Not the right time. Not the right time. And so that has been really helpful for people like with my personality type of like, yeah. And then the last thing I'll wrap up on is one of the things that is very useful for me is talk less, say more. And so there's the are you Don Miguel Ruiz guy?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you'd love it. He's
Okay.
crazy. He's this guy who read the 4 agreements and the mastery of love. But
Mhm.
basically, like the 4 agreements are incredible.
Oh, I'm
So
checking it out.
be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best, and don't take anything personally. And I think those are 4 really great pillars for life. And so, but the reason I'm tying that together is be impeccable with your word. Be precise with your language. The other thing that can be really interesting, and this is just kind of a life hack, is perceived intelligence is usually there's a high correlation with the vernacular or vocabulary that you use. And so if you want to sound smart, like sprinkle in really interesting words, and that will help kind of, it's a good heuristic. You see what I did there? You see what I did there?
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
There you go.
Rabah, there's so many other questions I have for you, but you've been so generous with your time, man. So
Yeah, this is great, dude. You are a one-of-one host, and I got to tell you, you with the siren, you didn't flinch at all. I've had that at my old building, dude. It's so loud and it's so discombobulating. It just like becomes cacophonous where it's just like breaking your eardrums. But you landed that, dude. And I got to tell you, man, you got a chance in this show business stuff. You were a fabulous host. Those were sensational questions, and the pacing and the yeah, man, this was one of the best ones I've been on, Evan. Kudos to you, man.
I appreciate you, man. Great job. I really, really appreciate you. I do have one last question that I ask everybody who comes up here.
I love it
because I want to clip it together at some point.
I love it. You guys do this clipping.
So you've dropped so many different quotes or references throughout our conversation. Yep. Something I always ask is I'm wondering if you have a favorite quote, and if so, what is it and why?
Man, yeah, I have a ton. I think probably the one that is near and dear, this too shall pass. It's very strong. But I love create more than you consume. I think that for me is just a really nice life ethos of I can apply it to my financial life, my relationships, and it's just this is why I'm very into Epicureanism. Same, like Stoicism and Epicureanism are also kind of very linked, but I think that the point is not to reject joy or pleasure or anything like that, but the point is to live life in abundance. And I am very, I guess I'm going quote unquote, because I am very much so of, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And so every day I'm trying to, prepare myself for the worst. And ideally it doesn't happen, but I know if I do that, if it does happen, that I'm not going to be scared or unprepared. And that's kind of, if anybody's into philosophy, Nietzsche has a bunch of really great stuff on this. And dude, I had, in like a 3-month period, my mom died, my dad got cancer, and my girlfriend got cancer, and I was like miserable at my job. So I just had all this stuff. And I'm not saying that for like pity or anything. What I'm saying that is, you have an opportunity to use those really dark, horrible moments and realize how strong and powerful you are. And then that really empowers and unlocks so much in the future, because you can always look back and you're like, dude, that's a whole lot of matzo balls hanging out there. Like, and I made it through. So if I can make it through that, this is life on easy mode. So that would be my kind of last parting wisdom, is life, bad shit in life is going to happen all the time. So like bad stuff isn't inevitable, but suffering, you can really reduce your suffering by kind of flipping it into opportunities to, hey man, this is going to make me a better, stronger human in the future. So that's what I would say. But create more than you consume, live in abundance mentality, try and make the people around you better, and pay it forward if you can. I think it's for me anyways, a more fulfilling way to live life than just consuming all things. And I don't know, did you just start to get to a place when you get older where you realize, like, again, for me, deep connections with humans I care about is really that's the show, man. That's what it is. And with that, everything else kind of falls in place, because my biggest fear in life is being on with stacks of paper in my golden palace, but nobody to share it with.
Man, well, on the family side, I'm sorry to hear, man. Everyone has their stuff, and like, thanks for being open about it. And
oh, so totally. It is what it is, man. People die, and she was awesome. And without going into details, everything kind of, it was what it was, dude. You just, since you got me on the quote roll, it's a great Carl Jung guy. I'm really into like psychology, philosophy, all that stuff. Is I am not what has happened to me. I choose what I become. So maybe that's my second place or 1A quote, where I just whether free will exists or not, I just find it really fun and interesting and exciting to live life in a way that you feel like you have control.
Rabah, you're the best. I really appreciate you taking the time. This was awesome. Like, I feel
likewise, man. You are. I'm going to see you on the Tonight Show in a few years or something. You are. This is definitely one of your strong suits, man. This was great. You're awesome. Also, we didn't plug anything.
I know, what the hell.
Go tell Reza, go message Reza and say how amazing this whole content series is. Go get Evan a promotion. You also, Black Friday, Cyber Monday's coming up, Evan. People got to get in there. Go get some analysis.
For both of us, man. For both of us. That's what it is.
Go buy our stuff, people. Please.
Oh, man.
A really great product. I'm really good friends with Jess, and that the little Jess agent you guys built was gas. It's a really cool, it's one of the best applications I've seen for kind of AI agents. This is really cool. But yeah, jokes aside, Motion is incredible. BFCM is right around the corner. So go get that.
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. And it's the same thing right back at you. Everybody got to tap in with your boy. Have to see him on Twitter, see him on X, see him all over the place.
These graphics and stuff too, Evan. You're hosting, you're producing. Like, oh man,
check him out. Check your boy out.
Oh, so Brett, I love it.
No, man, I sincerely appreciate it. This has been an awesome conversation. I feel great. I feel like I learned a ton. So I'm so happy.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for thinking of me. And If you guys have any questions or want to get nerdy or weird about anything, ping me on the Twitters. LinkedIn, I'm quasi on there. I don't check email, so don't try to email me.
Oh man, you heard it here first, everybody. Get in the DMs. But I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna talk to you soon, okay?
Appreciate you. Bye.
Later. Oh man, everybody. I feel so good right now. My heart is full. I am warm. This is so awesome. I know you all feel the same. Come on. There's so many different elements in there. I think what I love about quotes is they're easy for you to grab and then translate into your own world. So I just have so many things I've written down, and then I also have a little button I can click for clips. I've been clicking the shit out of that. So I feel like I got so many great things. And Rabah is like a very, I won't say complicated human, but just like so many layers to him, right? Like, of course, there's a professional side, but then the human side first, the understanding of self first, then bleeds into the professional end. So man, like this was so enjoyable. I loved being able to have this conversation with him. Everybody, this has been today's episode of Thumbstop Live. It's been a fun one. I've had a lot of fun. If this is your first time tuning in, what up, y'all? Welcome to the party. I'm so happy you're here. But just for context, you might be wondering, what the hell is this Thumbstop Live thing? Well, what it is we are a daily show every Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're talking to everyone in D2C, everything creative strategy. So if you want to catch the streams, you can catch us, of course, on Twitter and X. But you can also catch us on LinkedIn side. Shout out my LinkedIn people. YouTube Live. I see you in the chat. Hey. And then Instagram Live as well. Our Instagram folk. We can't ever forget about you. This has been super fun, everybody. Tomorrow's show is also going to be a great one. We have a couple dudes who I've also been known for a super long time. So we have Tori Rowe, who's going to be joining us. And we're also going to have Connor Rolane from HexClad, D1 and only. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a fun show. I'm feeling great. I'm riding this high. So let's go ride into the sunset today. But I appreciate it, y'all. This has been a blast. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.